I think I need to make this video, even though I don't think it's gonna be very good. So this might be kind of choppy. I've got some talking points that I want to cover, but I haven't got a script for this one. But what I want to talk about is how several elements have kind of got on top of me all at once, and I realized that I needed to filter out certain things in order to remain focused. This is not me announcing I'm closing this channel, by the way, or stopping doing any of these things. It's just a compartmentalization, and I think I need to get it recorded, get it down, say it out loud, so that I know what I'm doing. So this video is for my benefit necessarily more than yours. I came to YouTube somewhat from a backwards way, in that a lot of people come to YouTube to do YouTube and to be a dungeon tuber, which is sort of the category that I sort of fit into. Um, and then they sort of find their way outside of that, but they have a focus on their channel and their content. And I didn't primarily put my focus on that. I didn't put my focus on YouTube. I knew that I wanted to do the YouTube thing as a creative outlet and as a way to experiment with different camera styles and editing styles, and just like as a way to sort of muck about, justified me making videos and like refreshing my understanding of how that process is kind of done, polishing up all those skills that I had way back when I was making films, um, skills that sort of atrophy a bit because they weren't used for a long time. And I knew I wanted to make actual play content because at the time that was most of what I watch online, and I ran a lot of games already. I was a big gamer and I did all those sorts of things, so it wasn't outside my wheelhouse. I understood that world, and I knew that how that content worked more or less, and that's what I knew I could get a lot of fun out of doing that. But I split my focus too much, and a bunch of sort of projects sort of started floating about, and I had all my like regular work as well, and all these everything I have to do to try and still stay afloat just as a human being in the world, and that's and it all kind of piles up, and it's very hard to figure out the prioritization, which is one of the many reasons that the actual play show that we did film last year has taken so long for me to get out. It's not because it's been complicated or there've been like logistical issues with it. It's just more that everything sort of fell on top of me, and I just didn't really have a clear path ahead to get that out there. But ultimately, I was coming to YouTube as a creative first. I was primarily, I would still call myself a writer and a creative. I still write all the time, and I used to make little movies, and I'm designing a board game, I'm designing other things, but always my focus is on creative projects. But I've yet to reach a stage where creative projects pay the bills, unfortunately, which is the lament of all creatives, trying to find that point where your creative work pays your bills more than your regular whatever else it is that you do. And I'm still yet to reach that point. I was there for a little bit, and then it just you don't need to know my life story. I am not a YouTuber who has become a creative. I am a creative who is doing YouTube as a little side project just to keep all those kind of creative gears turning. It's just a very convenient way to have a little outlet where I can, which I find quite relaxing to make, even though I find the schedule of it still quite stressful. But I need to prioritize, and I need to step back a tiny bit from some of the things that I was planning to do on this channel, and refocus on more collaborative and more creative projects. For one, I've got the board game coming out hopefully at some point on Kickstarter. The pre-launch page is up now. Go into the go into the description. You can find a link to the Kickstarter in the description. Please do follow it. It's a big box collaborative game in the style of like Pandemic kind of things, a cooperative game. So yeah, check that out. Check out the Kickstarter. You can check out the website. Everything, all the links are below. So that's been a lot of my focus. I also really want to get our mega games up and running again. We ran 2 mega games of the Secrets of Arkham of my own design, and I'll make a video at that because there's a lot of creative design work that needs to go into it. So hopefully I get 2 or 3 future runnings of that planned, and tickets for that will go on sale at some point. And then I think I need to just knuckle down on the actual play content. So the show that we've obviously already filmed, and start getting some new stuff out there. I'm doing more Twitch stuff because it's relatively simple. Once the setup is done, because I'm an improvise heavy GM, that style suits me better. It suits me better to be less planned and more improvisational. So once I've got all of the design setup out the way, I think a live streaming a game will suit me better. It'll just suit my style rather than all of this pre-production and planning required for like the big show that we did, which is obviously still heavily improvised just because that's how the way I work. But I think that a game that is more spontaneous and live will suit me a little better. Similarly, working on a couple of shows slash podcasty kind of ideas that will, again, in the TTRPG space, that will be recorded live and go ahead instead of being scripted and pre-planned and prepared and everything else. Even though it was very good practice for me to make those kind of videos, it just is quite a lot to try and put them together. And I will still try and maybe do one every couple of months, but I think more live, more collaborational, improvisational content will be a little bit more comfortable. And the advantage of that is it doesn't eat up my time in editing, because editing is a long process when it doesn't do that. Especially when you're editing like me, editing like several hour-long videos at a time. The actual show is an hour and a half per episode. That's a lot of editing to get done. Because at the very least you have to watch it through, and you probably have to watch it through a couple of times. So it's going to take you, a good 5 hours of just. But even if you put almost no edits in it whatsoever, it's going to take you that long just because you've got to watch it through and make sure, nothing specifically like cock-ups or mistakes or things that need editing out. Just for like liability reasons even. Meanwhile, like I say, working on the board game, working on the mega game, working on a couple of other writing projects of my own to get them out there into the world, because that's always going to be my primary focus. YouTube is never going to be my focus, unfortunately, unless it blows up. But until then, I can't prioritize this because I didn't start here. I started doing all of these other creative side projects, and then YouTube just sort of got added onto that list. So I feel like I'm coming at YouTube somewhat backwards, particularly in the TTRPG space, where a lot of people started on YouTube with advice channels and then they slowly built up to releasing content and making their own works and their own creative projects. And not to say that those people aren't creative or that they weren't already working on those projects or they wouldn't have done them regardless, just saying that they kind of had a slow build up to doing that. Even Critical Role had a slow build up to releasing its projects, whereas I started with releasing my own projects and then did YouTube as something to distract me whilst I was working on all those things. In a perfect world, I will have a game design company within a year, and then within a couple more years we'll have a couple of 2 or 3 games out, and we'll be going from there. And love to be published in that time as well, but it's obviously like a lot of sort of dreams in the air that are currently in the works, but nothing is nailed down yet. Until something is solid and until I've got a product in my hand that I made this, it's very much just sort of been in the ether, and very hard to justify, I guess, or take seriously until you've got something. Which is why I miss making films, because when I made a film, I go, well, here's a film I made, send it out to festivals or whatever, but it's like a physical thing that I can point at and say, this is what I've been doing when I've been sat at my computer for hours on end. I can point to something and say, hey, here's what I've actually been working on, which again is, I think, an advantage of YouTube. I can point at it and say, hey, look, I have actually been doing something, even though it kind of can feel like you're not getting anywhere. That's kind of art, I guess. It's kind of like the creative process doesn't feel like work because it takes so long to get to product. But I guess that's true of like most any industry, I suppose. But there's once you until you're like manufacturing something tangible, it's very hard to admit that what you're doing is serious. Does that make sense? I don't know if this is very self-indulgent as a video, but I just needed to say out loud that that's what I was doing, to say it to myself. I'm on the whole feeling pretty good about myself, to be honest, about the creative projects. I have like behind the screens. I have a array of sticky notes, post-it notes with the things on, and as long as I do at least one of them every day, some of them are ongoing and they never actually end. Although I took one off the other day because I had completed it. But yeah, as long as I can look at there and say, well, I did that one today, or I contributed to that today, then I can feel pretty good about what I'm doing. It's just trying to get to a point where I can justify this as a lifestyle, which is still a little ways away. It's not too bad, but it's still not in sight when I will be able to be like, I can justify this as a career, as a job, without having to do something else. So it's that's still, I still don't know how far down the road that is, which is really stressful if I think about it for too long. I will update soon. I will release a video about Fate, which is a game I talk about all the time because it's my favorite game. But I will release a video specifically just about Fate, and then as soon as that's out, the Fate show will start coming out as well. I don't want to pin down a definite on that date on that. I don't want to promise you a date in case that doesn't happen yet. But yeah, hoping soon. And so if you see a Fate video come out, then that means that the show is about to come out as well. But outside of that, yeah, check out my Twitch. Keep an eye out for more of those kinds of chat show formats, as well as the actual play stuff. And I just really hope that I can get into a rhythm that will be less of a stress. If you got this far, thanks for watching. This has just been a tiny update for me, a little self-indulgent update. So yeah, thank you for sticking with it. Please do like and subscribe. If this was a bit of your first experience of the channel, then that's a weird one. Maybe check out some of my other videos, some of my D&D rants and actual play content that's already on here. Yeah, if you like that kind of thing, then yeah, like I say, like and subscribe and click the bell and do all the other YouTube things. And yeah, check out my links below. I have a Ko-fi support page. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee, then you can find links for that below. I've got a Discord server, which isn't like hugely active, but I do run some games and things on there sometimes. But yeah, keep an eye out for more updates from me, and I will catch you next time. The end.